Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? It's your boy Richie, and we got a special guest in studio. You guys know him. It's Matt freaking O'Leary. Welcome to the show, Matt.
I told you I'd be back. I love it in the Jets Media studio. Things you just love to see.
Absolutely. I mean, the in-person collab is something different, man. Ever since I got the studio, the biggest reason why I want to get the studio also, Matt, was for this exact reason.
Perfect.
And you are the only local Jets YouTuber. I mean, we do have shout out Jake Asman, but he's over there in Houston. Matt and I are very close, so stay tuned. We're going to get more collabs cooking up things in the Jets Media Studio. Always a pleasure to have you here, Matt.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to get into some Zach Wilson talk for this game against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to hone in on Zach Wilson in this one because, listen, we talked about the matchup between the New York Jets and the Denver Broncos yesterday on my channel. But, of course, we're going to break down the game as a whole, Matt. But I really wanted to focus in on Zach Wilson first and foremost because he's coming off a game that, listen, Matt, I want to get your thoughts of because everybody, including Jets fans, expected the potential of Zach Wilson being benched after the game on Sunday night leading up to it because of his game against the New England Patriots, because what Joe Namath was saying, and the entire Jets Nation was just like, man, Zach Wilson is terrible, but he goes out there and outperforms Patrick Mahomes in a loss on Sunday night. So what was your biggest takeaways from that game from Zach on Sunday night?
Yeah, from Zach Wilson in particular, I was really impressed with just how confident he was. It looked like two different players from going from the New England game a week prior into going into this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. To me, it looked like two completely different guys because I think Jet fans were right to have those doubts and were right to say, like, listen, if he doesn't improve, unless we see something drastically different, I don't know how Trevor Siemian could be worse than this because they were basically uncompetitive on offense. And he made a ton of really big throws in the game. Back shoulder to Tyler Conklin, back shoulder to Jeremy Rucker, the strike to Allen Lazard in the end zone. Hard not to be impressed with what we saw from Zach in this one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Zach Wilson really went out there with the whole world expecting him to fail. And my biggest thing with Zach Wilson, Matt, is outside of his performance on the field, I feel like he's growing off the field. He's mature. He's just, taking accountability, blaming himself for the loss. His press conferences, he feels like he's just getting it. There's a little different twinkle in his eye that I like to break it down because it just feels like the game is slowing down for him and he's getting aggressive on first down. And you got to give Nathaniel Hackett a lot of credit for that as well, the coaching staff, because we heard in his press conference yesterday that screw the third downs. Let's go get first downs on first downs and second downs. And I think that's what we've needed all along.
Yeah, you're allowed to do that. I didn't realize that you're allowed to be aggressive on first and second down and try to go for it a little bit. But yeah, you're right. Like, we saw a much more aggressive play caller too from Nathaniel Hackett in this game. I counted, they had 27 first downs and they threw on 16 of them. After the New England game, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head on that game, but you would have to imagine that they ran the ball. I don't know if they had 27, it must have been like 20 runs and 7 passing attempts, something like that on first down. So I just absolutely love, I thought the game plan, they put Zach in a really good position to succeed and he capitalized on it, man. Again, the confidence was something that was a huge issue for me going into this game. Zach looked like he had none and he had all the confidence in the world throwing on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think another thing about that is I heard from Robert Saleh, during I think it was either after the loss to the Patriots or the Cowboys, where he was talking about the Jets offense is trying to find their identity after Aaron Rodgers went down. Are we a run-first offense? Are we a pass-first offense? Are we a blend of both? Dare I say this Jets offense is becoming a pass-first offense? Because that's what they were against the Chiefs. But, going into the season, even with Rodgers, we were expecting this to be a run-first offense.
Yes, especially when you add Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall's coming back, you have Michael Carter, Izzy Abanikanda. My mindset was, okay, this is a team that, with Rodgers, that they're going to be able to throw the ball more than they did in years gone by, but still they're going to want to establish the run and then beat you in the play action and stuff like that. But you're right, they were much more aggressive throwing the ball on early downs this past week, and I think that is the recipe for success. Now, I'm not saying throw 45 times a week with Zach Wilson. I do think this is the perfect time for Breece Hall to have a really big game, but trusting him a little bit more and letting him actually play the position is important.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of Brees Hall, real quick, I think we got to give our thoughts of that documentary last night. I mean, feature film, if you will, an hour and 20 minutes of just Brees Hall coming back from his ACL tear. What a freaking job from the One Jets Drive Films crew. Shout out to Seth Bradley, Dan. I mean, everybody in the One Jets Drive Productions. You guys are just killing it. I mean, you're leveling up. Starting off with Flight 2022, then Flight 2023, One Jets Drive. And then this is such a unique approach. I mean, what other teams are doing these types of things of giving us as a fan base the behind-the-scenes look of Brees Hall's rehab, learning his story, going to his high school days, his college days, even his Pee Wee days was cool. So what was your biggest takeaways from that Brees Hall feature film last night, Matt?
Yeah, I loved it. I got a chance to watch it last night after the Thursday night game started to look a little ugly. I'm like, oh, I'm going to pop this on then. And then have that. I'll move the Thursday night game to the second screen and I'll go all in on Brees. But it was really cool to get that behind the scenes look. Honestly, I think my favorite part was when they would like the doctor would give the updates, or the trainer would give the updates on like the progress of where they were going along through this recovery process. But it took a lot out of him early on in it. He was very quiet. He was more laid back, a little bit more reserved, and you could totally understand why. Like, your season ends like that when you're performing so well. I can only imagine the frustration, but all the hard work he was able to put in, I thought was really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, also, like you mentioned, the mental strain and the mental fortitude to get through a rehab process like that is not easy. And I'm not going to lie with you, Matt, a person that kept coming to my mind while watching that was Aaron Rodgers, because he's going through his own rehab process. And I thought, seeing what it's like behind closed doors of not only, having the physical trainers there, but the mentality to get through it is not easy. I mean, talk about what Brees Hall was doing last year. Leading up into that game. The Jets were on a 3-game winning streak, heading into the game in Denver. He was the reason why we beat the Broncos, in my opinion. That was the only touchdown I believe they scored on a 62-yard touchdown run. The rest, I believe, were field goals. I could be wrong. And, he goes down with Elijah Vera Tucker. And, the start of the season was a little slow for Brees. And then he was, the undisputed rookie of the year. And then he goes down that way. I mean, imagine the mentality for a young kid like Brees to just get risen to the top and then go right back down. All right, you have to go through this rehab process. It's not easy.
No, absolutely not. It's not easy. And, for Brees and for us too, it all happened so quickly, as you mentioned. The first 2-3 weeks of the year was a little bit of a slow start. And then there was a 4-game stretch where it's oh my God, this guy is awesome. The Jets have a legitimate playmaker on offense. And then you blink and it's over, right? It was a 4-game stretch. You had the Pittsburgh, the Dolphins, Packers, and then you had the start. It was really 3.5 games because it wasn't even the full game against Denver. Really frustrating, and I'm glad that they're letting him loose on the field where this all happened. That's such an underrated storyline in this game coming up too, I feel like.
Yeah, I wanted to tie it into this season because we heard from Salah that the pitch count is officially over, and I feel like Brees Hall's season so far this year, he hasn't had that Brees Hall game where he takes over like we saw, for example, against the Miami Dolphins last year. He had 197 total yards. That Green Bay Packers game, he had over 100 yards. The Pittsburgh Steelers game was where he got his first touchdown, and I think this season, it's been interesting. The Buffalo Bills game was such a crazy game for the perspective of he's back. The week 1 was always his, timeline of where he wants to return. His first carry goes for 27 yards. His second carry goes for 83 yards. And then after that game is kind of a slow start because the offense was, figuring themselves out. They're stacking the box. The Jets are not being able to run the football. And then we saw against the Chiefs, he was this close for breaking free on an 80-yard touchdown run. So what do you expect from Brees Hall being officially let loose in a game that might be personal for him going back to Denver?
I expect big things. I think 90-plus yards from Brees Hall this week. I think he's getting 12 carries and then maybe 4 to 5 catches as well. So 15 to 17 touches in this game, which would be a big increase. The last few weeks, they haven't used him a ton. I mean, the offense was working against Kansas City, but if you were to criticize one thing, it would be the usage of Brees Hall in that game. But just seeing him crank up, I think he's ready. I think the explosiveness is there. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry. It's time to let him loose. I think it's going to be very successful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he's the missing piece to this offense because if we get Brees Hall clicking like he was last year before he got injured, then this offense goes to an absolute another level. But there is another aspect to this game on Sunday that we have to bring up. The unfortunate news that DJ Reed is ruled out with a concussion, and also Brennan Eccles is ruled out with a hamstring. They are getting Tony Adams back, which is definitely some reinforcements they need at the secondary. So what's your expectations with this Jets defense? Is Bryce Hall going to be the next man up? Are they going to, shadow Jerry Jeudy with Sauce Gardner, but then they still have Cortland Sutton. How do you think this Jets secondary is going to be able to figure things out without DJ Reed and Brendan Eccles?
Yeah, that's two pretty big losses. I mean, DJ Reed is a really, really quality at starting outside corner. I know, Sauce Gardner gets all the love, and deservedly so, because he's, a star player, but DJ Reed is really, really solid starting corner, and that's a big loss. And then you tie that in. So normally, if your starting three is Sauce, DJ Reed, and Michael Carter in the slot, Eccles is the guy who comes in, but now he's out. So that goes to Bryce Hall, who, I mean, we got to be honest, Richie, he's really struggled the last couple of years. I thought he had a great start to his career. I was excited about him. But the last 2 years, he's really struggled. Against Kansas City, I didn't think he looked good at all in the little that he was in. So my hope is that instead of trying to, have a ton of three-corner looks, maybe you're adding another safety on the field. As you mentioned, Tony Adams is coming back this week, so maybe it's more three safety looks and less, going three corners at that spot.
Yeah, the last thing we need is just the Broncos offense to just look at that left side where DJ Reed used to be, and that's going to be probably Bryce Hall's side and pick us apart. I mean, come on, Bryce Hall. You look good when we drafted you. You've been declining ever since. And I was excited about you, but you, like Mac said, man, he has been a big disappointment. Even last year when he got subbed into certain packages, they just exploited him every single time he was on the field. Sunday night against the Chiefs, he was on the field, and I was screaming on my live stream, why is Bryce Hall on the field? Because I didn't know at the time Brendan Eccles was injured. And then right when I screamed that, Matt, they targeted him, and they had that I think it was like a wheel route, a little fade wheel route from the slot. So, that's definitely an injury that the Jets got to figure it out. But, hey, next man up, absolutely no excuses, because I think this game really holds the defense I expect to make plays, even though the Denver Broncos offense, even though the 1-3 hasn't played pretty good with Russell Wilson. But this is a game on offense I'm looking at with the Jets to really be the reason why they win this game. And that starts with Zach Wilson. So getting into Zach Wilson, what is your expectations for him? Like, the title of this video is, will Zach Wilson have his best game of his life versus the Broncos? Because we can argue his best game of his life was against the Kansas City Chiefs. Can he match that? Can he excel? Can he exceed those? Or can they even win without Zach Wilson having his best game?
Yeah, for me, and I don't know if this is unfair expectations or getting, ahead of ourselves. And this whole week I've been trying to say, like, on my channel, and just to anyone who asks me, like, it was a great performance from Zach Wilson, but, like, let's pump the tires on Zach is fully back. Like, he's got to show it to us again. But this is a perfect opportunity to take advantage of a defense that is just absolutely reeling. And I understand, like, if you give up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins, the numbers are going to look inflated and they're not going to look good. But that's not the only game they struggled with. You go back to week 1, Jimmy G had over 100 a passer rating in that game. Sam Howell went for 299 and a passer rating over 100. And Justin Fields had the game of his life before he replicated that last night. So in 4 games, they've had 4 really impressive quarterback performances against them. I know we just talked about Brees and him coming back and him having a big impact, but if there was ever a time for Zach Wilson to be like, all right, let me build off a really nice showing, 245, 2 touchdowns, and take it that next step, this is the perfect opponent to do it against.
Absolutely perfect opponent to do it against. And I think that he is gaining his confidence, and he kind of needed that game on Sunday night to kind of like really think that, okay, I'm starting to see things differently. I'm starting to read defenses differently. And that was a big takeaway I had from his game on Sunday night, Matt. Not only the pinpoint accuracy and the throws and the athleticism, those things I knew he always had. But the thing that I always looked at Zach that he needs to figure out is at the line of scrimmage, can he read a defense and can he understand what the defense is giving him and maybe check to a new play to exploit that? And that's what he did. I mean, the amount of times, like that Jeremy Ruckert pass that he had, he checked to that play. Like he saw, okay, this is man coverage. I'm going to check and tell Jeremy Ruckert to do a little fade route. And I'm going to throw that ball up there and trust my receiver to go make that grab. And that's something that is, really getting me excited about Zach Wilson. So guys, if you're just tuning into the show, please do your boy a solid favor. Hit that thumbs up button. We really do appreciate it. We got Matt O'Leary tuning in to the Jets Media Studios. And also, if you're not already subscribed to Matt, I don't know what you're doing. That's linked down below in the description. Make sure you guys go subscribe to Matt freaking O'Leary, baby. Let's get things rocking. We only got 19 likes. Let's hit that thumbs up button if you guys want to see more Richie and Matt collabs, maybe in person, because that is definitely going to be coming up in the foreseeable future. Now, getting back into Zach Wilson, Matt, what are your thoughts of his development outside of the football field? And like you said, we need to see more of it before we say, yep, Zach's back. Zach's the franchise quarterback, because leading up to that game, it was the polar opposite.
Yeah.
So, like, what have you seen from him in his press conferences? What have you seen from him off the field that really gives you some type of optimism that maybe he might be figuring it out?
I really enjoyed his answers in the press conference this week, and even after the game against Kansas City. And one that you clipped was him talking about needing to be more aggressive and taking shots on first down. And he just like he looks happier, he looks more present, and the biggest thing with him always was the mental aspect. There's no question that Zach Wilson has a great arm. There's no question that he has good escapability and can make plays. It was always up top, and that was one of the biggest reasons why I was like, okay, maybe now it's time to make a quarterback change, because this is year 3 and we're still seeing like something is clearly wrong mentally. Then he has a great week, a great game, and he just seems like a more confident player going into this game. And if he builds on that again with a good performance on the football field, that's only going to make his confidence grow in himself, but his teammates also. They're going to like, how big would it be for the defense then to just know like, okay, like this is the quarterback that we're dealing with. We have, half a shot. It's not, we have to be perfect and have to give 0 points. We're not that far removed from Sauce Gardner being like, we can't be giving up 13 points in a game against the New England Patriots. Like that should not be any defense's mindset. As good as the Jets can be on the defensive side of the football, like that's just unfair and unrealistic expectations. But for me, his confidence is there, and I think that's very, very evident in how he's speaking this week.
And can we have a game where the offense is the reason why we win? Can we have a game where the defense does not have to like be perfect? And I completely agree. I mean, the amount of times that we've saw the defense get off the slow starts, but let's not forget that the offense is also getting off the slow starts as well. So it's not helping the cause here. Like, can we see a game where the Jets defense maybe pitches a shutout in the first quarter? Is that too much to ask? And maybe the Jets get a lead in the first quarter? I feel like every game so far this season, including the only win against the Buffalo Bills, they're trailing in the first quarter and at halftime.
Yeah, it would be a nice change to get out with a lead too, because then you could really see the defense pin their ears back and just get after the quarterback, right? Like, thankfully against the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes and against the Bills in week 1, the Jets were able to still create turnovers despite being down in the game and working their way back. But I would love to see this defense with a lead when the team knows, or when they know the other team rather is going to have to throw themselves back into the game and then let the defensive line tee off and the turnovers come.
I couldn't agree more, man. I think that this is the game where Zach Wilson can kind of show the world that he's improving. And I think also that I kind of find very interesting, Matt, that Zach Wilson is becoming like loved by not just like more than the national media than Jets fans. I feel like the national media is kind of like rooting for Zach just because they see a kid that is developing off the field. He's showing maturity, and they understand that the whole odds. They hear Rodney Houston, whatever his freaking name is, Rodney Harrison, excuse me, absolutely just say the most unprofessional thing ever. And I feel like the national media and the national world, that is, and just NFL fans in general, are seeing like, wow, the hate nationally against the Jets is so bad. The Jets had all this hype, and then Aaron Rodgers went down. I feel like we're becoming that team that like we're kind of a Cinderella team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, because there, as you said, there was so much hype, and then you lose your starting quarterback 4 plays in, and he was kind of the guy that was getting a lot of brunt of it last year, and even, at times this year. But I liked seeing Micah Parsons, rally behind him. That I think his comments on the situation were good. And Chris Jones too, even right there in the postgame was like, Zach's special. And like, I don't know. I like that guys are rooting for him, it seems, and know that he can play. Like, there's obvious talent there. And if it, for whatever reason, if it just would click mentally, and this week, as we said already a few times on this stream, like, this is the perfect time to take that next step.
It really is. And like, speaking of that, I think Aaron Rodgers' presence is so important for Zach. And I'm not even just saying like, oh, the reason why Zach played good is because Aaron was in the building. No, I'm talking about all the way from OTAs. I mean, right when Aaron Rodgers came to the New York Jets, I think that his ability to, lean on Zach Wilson and be his mentor, and Zach to accept that role, has really helped his confidence as a Jets quarterback, because that's why I always felt like, hey, I might be holding on to false hope, but the best case scenario for the Jets is, and it's already thrown at the door because Aaron Rodgers' injury, is Aaron's our quarterback this season and next season, and Zach Wilson learns and he gets past the baton and he's our quarterback for the future. And that's kind of what I wanted. And now here we are. Oh, that's not the case. Zach, you're thrown right back into the fire. You are our starting quarterback and you're number 3. And maybe it's going to take a few weeks to figure it out. But what are your thoughts of Aaron Rodgers' mentorship towards Zach Wilson and his ability to kind of help him mature off the field? And do you think that he's a big reason for his development?
I think him kind of teaching him the way, like how you have to prepare each week and doing the little things, starting from OTAs. We saw some of it on Hard Knocks, but Rodgers has made it clear since he's been here with the New York Jets that he wants to build a relationship with his teammates. And like, that's the way, like, championship teams do that. They spend a lot of time together. Obviously you have your guys on the team that you're going to be closer with, but get to know everybody. And also too, like, I think Rodgers just in general, his time where he was, there in the building for this past week made such a huge difference for this team. And like having the Jets be able to, or him, I guess, rather be able to speak to the Jets, I think really made a big difference. And again, not necessarily like, oh, he's going to give him some pep talk and like they're going to go out there and win, but just having their leader back gives the whole unit confidence.
Yeah, I agree. And I think his presence is really, really important for this team. And I also liked Rodgers' message where he's like, he came here and he's like, stop pointing fingers. Like that is the last thing we need to see on sidelines of Michael Carter going after running back coach, Garrett Wilson being frustrated with Zach on the sideline. Like that's something that needs to be, you can have frustrations, but don't make it public and keep it private and look inward and, figure it out yourselves instead of, placing the blame on others. How about you place the blame on yourself and hold yourself accountable? And I think that message really was felt, and I think it was needed at the time. And unfortunately, they couldn't get the win, but you saw a different spark in the offense. And listen, we're talking about the Zach Wilson. I was like, yeah, Zach Wilson looked good, but how about the offense as a whole? Like, yeah. I mean, the offensive line, can we talk about that real quick, Matt? Because this offensive line has been the talk point pretty much the entire offseason that they stink. It's going to hold everything back. Aaron Rodgers gets injured. The offensive line's the reason for it. Dwayne Brown deserves I think Dwayne Brown's injury is the best thing that ever could have happened. Shout out to you, Dwayne. No disrespect. Absolutely love you as a person. But him going down and sliding Mekhi to left tackle and Joe Tippmann to right guard and AVT to right tackle, man, this offensive line, I was watching the film, Matt, and I'm like, this is the best pocket I've seen from a Jets quarterback consistently in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think it's been a noticeable difference the last 2 weeks, how much improved the offensive line has been. And that's another one. Like, if they just keep stacking it, like we've talked about Zach stacking it on this performance, if the offensive line goes out and continues to perform the way that they do, like, that's not going to be a story anymore. A few weeks ago when I came in here after the Dallas game, the play of the offensive line was a big story. We talked about that a ton, but I don't want to hear anymore about using the offensive line as an excuse for if Zach Wilson goes back and struggles this week. They've held up really good. Like, Mekhi Becton's made the transition to the left side of the line very well. Joe Tippmann's been a stud through two games. He's been fantastic. And AVT being able to move outside and play right tackle, like this line, and someone we got on a lot too the last time, but Laken Tomlinson's been better the last 2 weeks too. So yeah, this line has drastically improved, and you can't use that as the cop-out anymore. It's not, oh, he has no shot because the line's terrible. No, they played really well the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, not only last week, against the Patriots too. I mean, it doesn't feel like the offensive line played good because this offense didn't score any points. But, like, you go back to that Patriots game, Matt, and, like, we lost the game, and it's on the offense, no doubt about it. But, I will say there was a little spark of the offense, and it was a little too late to win the game. But that last drive we saw, I think something clicked, and that momentum, trickled into the Chiefs game where they were aggressive, and they had to be aggressive at that time. And maybe, just maybe, not only Zach Wilson, but the coaching staff realized, like, oh my gosh, that's what this offense needs. We need to be aggressive. We need to pretend that we're losing by 3 touchdowns and, like, actually stay ahead of the sticks. Don't rely on third downs to get the first downs. And on first down, let's take some shots down the field. And I think that that's a really telling sign of the development of this offense. But the one thing about this offensive line I will say that I really hope that they can improve on is the running game. Yeah, I think they've been stellar pass protecting. And quick stat, I don't know the logistics of this, and I can't tell you the exact stat, Matt, but I saw something even before the Chiefs game that Zach Wilson is rated as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when he has a clean pocket and one of the worst in the NFL when he has a bad pocket. And right now, and that's talking about like last year in his career with the Jets, he just simply is a bad quarterback when the pocket is terrible. And listen, it's hard to do that, but he simply cannot handle pressure. It's obvious. And you go back to his BYU tape, everyone's like, what happened to the kid? Well, BYU, he had pockets, like clean pockets all day long. So I think the development of the offensive line is also helping the development of Zach Wilson, and that's really, really a positive sign. But getting back to the running game, listen, we saw some flashes of the run game, that potential 80-yard touchdown to Breece Hall, that outside run to the right side. We saw Joe Tippmann, AVT, all the boys lead blocking. What do you want to see from this offensive line in the run game to really open it up? Because I think if that starts getting going against the Denver Broncos, then this offense can really elevate to the level we were expecting even with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and even though we talked about the Denver Broncos struggling against these quarterbacks in the passing offense, they've also struggled against the run.
One of the worst.
Yeah, as well. They're a bottom 3 team against the run. They've seen the Dolphins ran. It was like 300 plus yards the Dolphins ran in that game. It was insane. But this is a perfect opportunity to take advantage. I love running to the right side with, Tippmann and AVT out in space. I think is going to be really impressive. Breece Hall getting more to the carries, I think, will also help because I hate to say it, but Dalvin Cook looks just really washed. He's running like he has cement blocks on his feet. I'm convinced of it because he is slow, so slow, trying to get to the hole and indecisive at the line of scrimmage, which is if you're in your later stage of your career and you're slowing down, you can't then also be indecisive because that's going to be a recipe for disaster. It feels like Le'Veon Bell again when he was here, and he was just too patient of a runner and didn't have that same speed, so you were too slow. But I'd like to see Michael Carter and eventually Izzy Abanikanda get chances too, because I think they're both younger, they're both more explosive backs, and I think kind of phasing Dalvin out a little bit and going with the youth and the more explosive running style will also help.
Yeah, and the Dalvin Cook situation is such an interesting one to me because when we were interested in, the whole topic was, well, we don't need Dalvin Cook, but hey, I mean, I'll take him. We have Aaron Rodgers, and we're going all in. Okay, we'll take him. But then we bring him in. Aaron goes down, and he definitely seems washed. I mean, there's something off with Dalvin. I don't know. Maybe is it because he did not participate in OTAs and training camp, and he's rusty, and he needs to get his feet underneath him. I have no idea. Or is this just who he is at this point? He got the bag for a 1-year deal, and Rodgers is in here, and he's surrendering. I mean, that's a problem if that's the case. But when it comes to this run game, Matt, I really think that this is the missing piece because I also have to say a big reason for the struggle of the run game early on is the defense is stacking up the box because they're not threatened by Zach Wilson. And now if Zach Wilson could start to show some promise in the passing game, that's going to open up the run game. So I think getting back to the balance and feeding Breece because, listen, we talked about Michael Carter. We talked about getting Izzy on the field and the struggles of Dalvin Cook. But the reality is Breece Hall is the bell cow. He is a star. And you can argue he's the best player on this entire offense. You can argue him and Garrett Wilson, of course. But I keep coming back to this, Matt. Breece Hall, if we can get him to where he was before he got injured last year, the offense is going to new heights. Absolutely new heights. Unstoppable. We were literally, do I have to bring back the stat that Zach Wilson was 5-0 with Breece Hall before this losing streak it started? And I think a big reason for that was because of the domination that Breece Hall brings. And now that he's off his pitch count, I think that if they can unleash Breece the Beast, it's going to take this offense to a new level, man.
Yeah, I am totally with you there. Adding that extra element will make a really big difference and also make life easier on Zach or whoever is playing quarterback. Honestly, having a run game that is so, that you could rely on, it opens up the play action then. And it's going to be easier for Zach to throw. And something else that I noticed, the topic of the video is, will Zach have his best, game? And I think for me, something that Zach Wilson showed me in this Kansas City game that also kind of ties in with running the ball is he just looked so comfortable on the play action. Like mechanically, I don't know what it is. His mechanically is just so much better after a play action.
Hey, Aaron Rodgers, thanks for the help there.
Right. So if you're then running the ball really well and these teams are going to start biting on the play action, that's going to open up the passing attack even more.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because there were so many times, Matt, where I saw play action from Zach and I'm lost. I'm like, where's the ball? And then he just zips it. I'm like, what is happening? Who are you, Zach? I've never seen this from you. And we even saw a little glimpse of the Hard Knocks of behind the scenes with the quarterback room of them really working on that, selling the play action.
Right.
And even that touchdown pass to CJ Uzama. I mean, bro, the patience, the ball fake, hiding the ball. like, I don't want to keep saying he looks like Aaron, but like if there was a play that like just exemplified Aaron Rodgers, that was it. I mean, the patience he showed, hiding the ball. I mean, even that throw, I believe it was a throw to Garrett Wilson that he had. It was a double play fake. I watched it on film and I was so impressed. He faked it to Nick Bowden, and then he also faked it to Brees in a dual matter, and that was the play I got fooled. And then he waited for Garrett to get open on man coverage, a little crossing route, and found Garrett. I think that's a big thing of selling the play action opens up everything. And now, speaking of Garrett Wilson, I've been someone that keeps screaming, feed Garrett Wilson, right? I'm wearing his t-shirt right now. Let's freaking go. I'm waiting to get his jersey, Matt, because I know he's changing his number to number 5.
Number 5.
Which, by the way, is my favorite number. Shout out David Wright, since I was a young kid. But I digress. I've been saying, hey, Garrett Wilson, you deserve 10-plus targets minimum. He got 14 targets against the Chiefs, and I think that's something to really talk about. That. And do you know what else stood out to me, Matt? Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show last week. I watch everything that Rodgers says in that show, and he was talking about offenses around the NFL, and he's like, you know, the best offenses, what they do best is they force feed their best players. Tyreek Hill getting all these targets, Keenan Allen getting all these targets, Justin Jefferson getting all these targets. And I couldn't stop thinking about, like, wow, if Aaron was here, he'd be doing that with Garrett. And why is not Zach doing it? Well, he finally did it. 14 targets, 9 catches, only 60 yards. But I think that's telling you that Aaron Rodgers' presence and the whole offense needs to focus in on Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he is your best player. And there's no reason that he shouldn't be getting double-digit targets a game. Again, like, your best players have to see the field and have to get these targets in. I don't know why they were so, against necessarily doing that. Maybe it was the struggles with Zach Wilson early on in the season as well. But, yeah, get Garrett Wilson 10-plus targets a game. Feed Brees Hall, whether it be runs or screens, 15 plus times. There's no reason that you can't utilize your best players.
Yeah, and I also got to give a big shout out to Allen Lazard. I think he's been coming up for his own, wide receiver number 2 for this Jets team. He had a really good game against the Chiefs. That amazing, deep ball down the right sideline. Could have been a touchdown if Zach put more juice underneath it, but I can't get on Zach too much. There was a player in his face, a little bit underthrown, but Allen Lazard, the veteran presence that he is, came back and made a play on the ball.
Yep.
That touchdown that he had. What's your overall thoughts of Allen Lazard so far in his first 4 games as a Jet?
I really like Allen Lazard. I think people were a little bit too hard on Lazard when he first got here with the Jets and said, oh, this is an overpay, and he's not really, that efficient of a wide receiver. And he's on pace to put up over 700 yards again. And, on through 4 weeks, a poor passing offense. If that offense then takes that next step, I think he's someone who can maybe, I don't think he's ever going to be 1,000-yard receiver, but could he give you 800 in a season?
For sure.
I think so. And look, one of my bigger things was seeing him and Randall Cobb go up to Zach and talk to him. And he just seems like a natural leader, and he does the little things well. He blocks really well, and I know that's not sexy. Like, we don't love, like, oh, he's a great blocking receiver. That's why you got to have him. But he does the little things right. Zach has shown when Corey Davis was here how much he likes to rely on going to those bigger receivers. And I think Lazard's going to be his safety net.
Yeah, I think exactly that. Not only his safety net, but also a red zone threat. And I think that's, he only has 1 touchdown, but I think that Allen Lazard, when he was with the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, his specialty was scoring touchdowns. And I think that, my bold prediction heading into the season with Aaron was that Lazard's going to lead the Jets in receiving touchdowns, but Garrett will lead the Jets in receptions and yards just because of his presence and his, 50-50 ability and going up and getting the ball in the end zone. And I think that he's coming for his own, and we're finally seeing some, life to the passing offense. And getting into Randall Cobb, I got to give him a shout out because he had a really crucial play in the Chiefs game. That 3rd down out route to Randall Cobb, if he did not make this play where he caught it short of the sticks and he extended the ball, that was a veteran savvy move, Matt. And if he did not make that move, we would not have eventually scored that touchdown on that drive. They would have settled for 3 points. So Randall Cobb has been very, not splashy, not doing anything. We're like, get him off the field, get Hardman on the field. But I just got to give him credit for that. And not only that, and what you mentioned, his veteran presence and, helping Zach get his confidence is important too.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I really do. And, maybe it shouldn't be 76% of snaps for Randall Cobb and 3% for Hardman.
Out there.
Yeah, maybe
100%.
a little bit of a better split, but there is use to having a guy like Randall Cobb on the roster. I'm not anti having him here. I would just like a little bit more balance with the other receivers on this roster. That's all.
Couldn't agree more. And shout out to Xavier Gibson for finally getting on the field as well.
Yeah.
Next up is McCall Hardman. Nose kills with the €5, I believe. You get a round of applause. And a JETS Jets chant. Thank you so much for the super chat, Nose Kills. One of my biggest worries with Zach has been the lack of touch passes. If these seam fade routes are what it takes to get him going, keep them coming. Now, that is something that has been struggling with Zach Wilson his career, is his ability to, he has such a strong arm where he like zips it a little too much and he can't figure out a way to take a little bit off of it to throw those touch passes. So what are your thoughts of Nose Kills saying that, his lack of touch passes, but if the seam and fade back shoulder routes is what's making him, be impactful, keep him coming?
Yeah, 100% agree. I was really impressed with those, back shoulder throws. And even not that is, I guess it was a back shoulder. The throw to Lazard in the end zone was back shoulder because if he let him a little bit, it would have been picked off.
Yeah.
He put that in a perfect spot. And he was showing off the rocket of an arm that we all know he has. But I 1000% agree with Nose Kills. I think part of the reason why we see sometimes the running backs have drops is because it's short. It's a 5-yard throw, but he doesn't take anything off. He still zips it in there.
Yeah.
And that's one you would like to have him have a little bit more touch on the ball and make it a little bit easier. I think it was Garrett last year talked about Joe Flacco throwing a very catchable ball. And like, that's the difference between a veteran who's been in the league and thrown for, 15 years or whatever it was, and someone like Zach Wilson, who, still a young player, but at this point he needs to know to take something off a little bit when it's an underneath throw like that.
And another throw that stands out that I think if he took a little bit more off and focus on the accuracy was that missed touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
I think he put a little too much zip on it. If you put a little more arc and just dropped it in the bucket, oh man, I wanted that touchdown so bad. I mean, we still scored on that possession, so it didn't hurt us. But just me being a Garrett Wilson fantasy owner and me putting money on him to score that game, I was like, what could have been, Matt?
Yeah, it would have been really nice to see him hit that one up the sideline. And that's a throw we saw him make a lot at BYU, and obviously he wants that one back. I think he gets it back this week. I think he hits one to Garrett up the sideline this week. That's my prediction.
So you got Garrett Wilson in the end zone?
I do. I think Garrett Wilson.
Can he have a DJ Moore type of game, or is that too much to ask for?
I would love that. Would he go for over 200?
230 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, sign me the hell up for that, please.
I mean, bro, are you kidding me? A DJ. I mean, we know that he has the abilities to do it.
He does. He absolutely does. We talked at the top about Zach Wilson having a much better day throwing the football against a team that's really struggled against the pass in the Denver Broncos. So why not? Why can't he go off for, have his signature game, go off for, hell, I don't know, 175 and 2 scores? Sign me up, dude.
Say less. So, folks, as you guys know, we do have a proud sportsbook sponsor of Jets Media, and that just so happens to be BetUS. So I want to get Matt's thoughts of the lines and some player prop bets over there on BetUS. Now, if you guys want to sign up for BetUS, guys, they're matching 125% of your initial deposit up to $2,500. So if you guys want to click that link that's pinned in the top of the chat, you guys will get 125% bonus right when you sign up. So, for example, you put $100 down, you get $225 to play with. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. Now, Zach Wilson's over-under on BetUS is at 203.5 yards. Matt, you taking the over or under on that?
I'm slamming the over. Now, if this was 2 weeks ago, different conversation, right? But after going for 245 against a really good defense in the Kansas City Chiefs, there should be no reason that Zach doesn't go over this number in this game.
100%. If he doesn't, listen, if he goes under and we win because Breece Hall has 200 yards, sign me up. But hey, we need Zach Wilson to get over on that, no doubt about it. I'm curious to see what Garrett Wilson's lines are. Let's get into that. Well, the way they do it on BetUS, which is cool, you can build a whole parlay, which actually we're gonna do. We're gonna build a little parlay here, Matt.
Oh, I like it.
Where's the passing? Let's get back into the passing. We're gonna take Garrett Wilson's over on his yards. Oh, so this is the alternate.
Wilson's. We have a nice. What do you want to? We could bump this up even if you want to get nuts and get a better line here.
Is he going over 234?
I would
224, 214.
I'm thinking 224. A little bit on the more conservative. A little bit more on the conservative side for now.
All right, so let's add that to it. 224. Hold on, your boys just got to log in real quick so I can make this parlay for you guys.
Yeah, we're going to log in. We're going to place the bet. Richie already told me we're going to split the winnings from it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Even though I don't have any money deposited in, so we're going to place this bet off. But I'm going to bet on this. All right, let's get back into it. We're logged in.
Jets, Broncos, over.
Let's do the alternate. I like that one better.
Yeah, you get a little bit more bang for your buck instead of laying the 130.
You said 224?
Yeah, let's do 224. I think that should be enough.
Okay, let's get into Garrett's
receiving.
All right, so Garrett, how many yards? Chat, let us know. Where do you think we should go with Garrett Wilson's alternate receiving yards?
Yeah, Richie, what's your initial feel here? We'll go with what the chat is thinking, obviously, to help us out here. But where's your head at right now for this number on Garrett?
99 plus at plus 365. I might be getting crazy, but I think that this is the Garrett Wilson game here.
Okay.
But I don't know. A little conservative because the odds are still good to get even 69 plus is at plus 108.
Yeah, I think if you get yourself in the plus money, even on the 69 plus, I think that's the floor we start with, at least for now.
If you want to be smart, you want to get ahead of yourself, Richard.
Right. Like, I mean, we could go a balls to the wall parlay and just try to get this.
Julio says 109.
109 plus. What do you think? What's the line on 109 plus? Can you scroll that thing over? It looks like you can.
Oh, you can.
109 plus 530 to go over 109. Oh my god, that is nuts,
dude. Plus 129 is a plus 1050.
Yeah,
if he's having the DJ Moore game.
Yeah, that's the highest that you can go.
You know what? We're gonna do plus 79.
Okay, we'll juice it a little bit. All right,
we're also gonna take his receptions.
Yeah. So then, what are we thinking? Like 5+ receptions.
Oh, okay, you can't do both.
Okay.
No worries. But you know who else we're adding to this is Brees.
Gotta add Brees Hall in the mix.
Now, do you know what I'm really upset with myself? On the Sunday night game, I made a parlay, and I hit on every single bet but one. And I'm such a moron. And the whole leg, Matt, had Jets, and one Chiefs player, and every Jet hit but the Chiefs player.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. Yeah, it happens.
And it was Garrett Wilson's over hit, Brees Hall's over hit, Tyler Conklin's over receptions hit, Brees Hall's over hit, and then the last one, I don't know why, I was expecting a Travis Kelce touchdown.
I think everyone had Travis Kelce in their parlay,
and that was the only thing that messed me up.
That's brutal.
All right, so Brees Hall, how many yards is he getting?
This is a pretty big number, but I like the 90 plus at plus 242.
Say less. All right. Well,
can we see our odds on what we get on that?
Yes. I gotta find it. Where is?
Sorry, I might have just put you on the spot there.
No. I got to figure this out because this is a brand new player prop building software.
Oh, right there at the top. See, bet
slip. It's at plus 1,300.
I like it.
So you put $25 down, you win 210. Oh, that's 15. But $25 on this, you win 350. I'm putting money on this. No doubt about it.
Run it, baby.
If you guys want to follow me on this, you guys see the bet slip. There it is. We got Garrett Wilson over 79 receiving yards, Zach Wilson, 224 passing yards, Brees Hall, 90 rushing yards. I mean, that's an offensive day, man.
They're going to do it. The Jets offense, they're putting up 30 points this week. How about that for a bold take?
I mean, we're going up against a defense that gave up 70, Matt.
Yeah, and 28 to Justin Fields and the Bears. And granted, Fields had a really nice day again against the Commanders, who just seemingly cannot play defense at all either. I don't know what's going on there. But, yeah, for me, I am looking forward to an offensive day. I think it happens finally.
Me too. And guys, if you want to trail our bet that we just created, guys, click that link that's pinned in the chat, and you guys get 125% sign up bonus. Now we're going to open this up to a call-in show, guys, before we get Matt out of here and myself out of here as well. And if you guys enjoy these in-person collabs with Matt joining the studio, do us a favor, guys. Simply hit that thumbs up button, folks. We greatly appreciate it. We definitely want to do this more often. This has been my vision ever since I wanted to get a studio, is to do these in-person collabs. And luckily, we've been able to do it. This is the second time. The first time Matt came was on the Jets Media podcast with Jack, of course, after that Dallas game. And that was an interesting show.
Yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot of fun to come on for. The 3 hours went really, really quick. That was absolute blast. But after an ugly loss to Dallas, that really stunk.
It really did, man. I wanted to be on there celebrating Victory Monday, and they had to just do that to us, bro. Well, that's why I want to get Matt here. So, we're heading into a game that's a must-win, and I think we can all agree that the Jets need to win this game because do I have to remind you folks that the season's not over? It's not.
No, they have, if you want to do that for a little bit, I think they have a winnable game against Denver, but you have to get that one, right? That's a game you must win because the Eagles is a tough one. But even if you get into the bye at 2-4, with how the schedule is after that, you have the Giants, the Chargers, the Raiders. Those are 3 winnable games right there. You could be looking at 5-4, and suddenly it's like, hey, we're still kind of alive here.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And also, the AFC as a conference is not as stacked up as we all anticipated early on in the season. A team can run away with it, but there's not one undefeated team. Right, we're 2 games back from first place from the division. So, hey, anything is possible, and I think the Jets got to do, what they got to do in order to really, win the games they're supposed to win, and that starts on Sunday.
Amen. I love it.
All right, we got the first caller. Uh-oh, look who it is.
Bum, bum.
Billy Epstein. What's up, dude?
Billy Bilstein here.
Billy Bilstein. Sorry, sir.
I just wanted to say that my granddaughter appreciates your show, but unfortunately, she doesn't like you, Richie. She likes Jack.
Oh,
I don't know if Richie, you're a very handsome guy. I could get it though.
I think it's because it's the music.
It's the music. That's what I'm saying. He could be serenading her. If you add that musical talent, that's the only thing that's holding you back. Rich.
Oh man, and listen, I can never touch Jack's talent of music. It's just on another level. Well, Billy, I'm not upset with that. Jack deserves the love.
But you're a nice young man too.
Okay, I'll take that, Billy.
I was wondering, do you think that maybe Whitehead could learn how to tackle from Trey Dean?
Trey Dean.
Hey, Trey Dean, shout out to him. And, Jordan Whitehead, I think, does too much of just the body hits and no wrap up. So, Billy, you do bring up a good point.
Back in my day, they would throw cans of tuna fish at him if he missed tackles.
And Billy, I got to call you out. There's someone in the chat asking if you're faking this voice.
No, this is what you sound like when you're 85 years old and you've had nothing but losing for 50 years watching this team.
Well, Billy, you bring up a lot of great points. It's hard to press you on that. Trey Dean needs to teach Whitehead how to tackle.
Not wrong. Jordan Whitehead, obviously the 3-pick game in week 1, awesome. But can we wrap a guy up? That's the next step here is getting the wrap-ups on the tackles.
20 will choose me, which is over Jack, Billy. So thank you, 20, for defending me.
Well, I want to thank the two of you for providing wonderful content for old-timers like me to enjoy.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Billy, for tuning in whenever Matt's here. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Oh, that's great.
Poor Richie.
Billy. He was on here when you were here for the Jets Media podcast.
That's right, and he's a Just Jets caller. He's a regular on the Just Jets podcast. So shout out Billy. He's a rider. He's a ride or die. I've never met an 83-year-old who could figure out a StreamYard link though, so that's pretty impressive.
That is impressive. So shout out to Billy. Can't complain there. All right, let's get to the next caller. We got Finn's 209. What's up, bro?
Yo, Richie.
What's up, man?
So what do you think? You think you can get if you guys can keep Wilson off the field, you guys will be fine. Like I said, your defense is stacked. So yeah.
So what do you mean? We take Wilson off the field?
If you take Russell Wilson, if you can keep him the time of possession that he has,
I thought you meant
lower.
Jack.
No, Russell. Zach actually you've seen maturity in him, and he's taking that constructive criticism, and now he's had one good game with it. Can he have another one? And if he strings a couple of wins for you guys, yeah, you guys would be back in it. And I still have you over the Patriots taking the last wild card spot.
Too bad we couldn't just freaking beat them.
You'll beat him in Foxborough. It's fine.
Hey,
Mac
I hope so,
Jones
man. It's been so long, bro. But
Yeah.
that is a good point. I mean, we got to keep
Yeah.
Russell Wilson off the field so we can win the time of possession. And Russell Wilson, low-key, has been playing good football. Like,
Yeah, he's been much better this year, and I think that kind of feeds into our Brees Hall being back narrative in this game. And if that's the style that they want to go, then this is the time to give Brees 15 carries then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think the Jets are actually going to surprise a lot of people. I have a bold take for this week. I think Zach Wilson gets over 400 yards passing.
well, Finn's
Sign me
209.
up.
Sign me up for that. I appreciate the call, bro. Dude,
That might be my favorite Dolphins fan of all time.
I know. I mean, what the heck? We have a Dolphins fan showing Jets this much love? I'm not used to that.
I don't know. What are we going to do if Zach goes for 400 and 3 touchdowns?
Gotta give Finn's 209 credit.
Yeah.
I mean, but like from a Jets fan base perspective, it's done. He is the guy, and Rodgers is back. Cool. Who cares? You're the backup.
That's going to be the storyline is that if he goes out and throws for 400 and 3 touchdowns, then we'll be on here the week after. Do they even bring Aaron Rodgers back for the playoffs? You know, is it even worth it if Zach is playing that way?
And that was actually a conversation that the media asked Robert Saleh today. What if the Jets make the playoffs and Aaron's ready to go?
God.
But then, the reason why they're in the playoffs is because Zach's obviously has to play good. I mean, bro, that's the best case scenario possible. Give me that issue.
Yeah, right. Like, can we worry about? Let's focus on Denver.
And that's what
first.
Saleh said.
Yeah, like, can we get through week 5 first before we're talking about week 18 and potentially making the playoffs after that? Like, I love potentially being there, but that's a long way away.
Speaking of Aaron, Matt, I want to get your thoughts of his I know we want to get through this week and not even talk about playoffs or anything, but do you think that there is a chance that Aaron actually plays this season?
I kind of do. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, you're not.
13 days after surgery, he was out of the boot, which
And
normally is a 6-week thing.
He's doing everything in his possible power to find alternative ways of healing and rehab and it's never been done before. Cool, I'm gonna do it. I mean, that's his mindset. I mean, that's what he's done. And it's hard to watch the Pat McAfee show and not believe that he is defying the odds and gonna figure out a way to do it. And we saw Cam Akers do it, so it's not like it's never been done before. And I don't know, man. I'm not going to hold hope on it. I'm not going to be holding on to it Rodgers coming back. And if he doesn't, it's the end of the world. It's kind of one of those things if it happens, that's a cool story. If it doesn't, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if it happens, that's great. And I only think you bring him back if you're in a spot where, one, it's the playoffs or, final week of the year against New England, you're winning, you're in, and Aaron Rodgers, I can go. Then you're putting him in, obviously. But, yeah, you got to get there first because we could talk about wanting to bring Aaron Rodgers, back. But if you go into the bye at 105, that's not going to be a possibility.
And I think that's why we saw Rodgers stressed out even more against the Chiefs game, just because he knows I want to come back, but you got to start winning right now without me. So when I come back, there's some meaningful games. No,
exactly. And they were right. They were right there. I know moral victories are a little overrated, but there's a lot of positives to take from that one on Sunday night.
Yeah. And listen, moral victories are not a thing in my eyes, but this is definitely the one loss as a Jets fan that I've took away the most positives in my life. And it's just for the sole reason of the development of the quarterback, because we needed Zach to show some flash. I mean, it was so bad to the point where we're all expecting Trevor Siemian to play this week.
Yeah, no, literally. We were all talking about it, and I don't think we were unfair to say Trevor Siemian would give you more than what the version of Zach Wilson that we were seeing. But again, it was a night and day difference. No one was expecting that kind of a turnaround against a really good Kansas City Chiefs defense. And again, we keep hitting it, and it's. I understand that some are probably tired of hearing it, but you gotta stack on it now. You gotta build on it. You can't go back and complete 50% of your passes and throw for 150 yards anymore. You gotta keep that completion percentage up, and build off of that performance and keep the confidence level going.
And could we see the offense kind of explode around Zach? Can Zach throw a screen pass and it goes 70 yards? Like, can Zach throw a quick slant and it goes 50 yards? Like, I see offenses all across the league do that, and I'm always like, wow, I mean, that quarterback stats are inflated. Like, why can't we see inflated Zach stats? Yeah, I mean, it's like, and the fact is, we have playmakers to do it. And so, like, I'm not even looking at this game in terms of Zach Wilson. I'm looking at it as the overall offense. Like, can we see an explosion from Garrett, from Brees, dare I say Dalvin? Like, can we see an easy pass for Zach and they make people miss and they go the house or something?
Yeah, like the touchdown throw to Garrett against Dallas. One, it was a good ball. He put it in a tight spot, but taking it up the field and going the rest of the way, like a play like that where there's a lot of yards after the catch, or Brees on a screen pass, he makes two guys miss and goes for 65
and
yards.
Dalvin looks washed, but like his entire career with the Minnesota Vikings felt like he took at least 5 or 6 screen passes to the house this season.
That's the problem with Dalvin. He's a very boom or bust player, so he would have a lot of big plays, but I think because he's not getting he's not the lead guy, he's not getting those 15 carries or 5 targets, that like the chances of him hitting on a big one are a lot lower now. And then plus you add in that he looks, just if you watch the film, he does look slower. Is
there like a broken coverage that Garrett Wilson or Lazard or Cobb or anybody just squeaks by and Zach finds him?
You know what? How about it almost worked, the flea flicker against Kansas City.
It did. It almost worked.
Lazard was open down the field, but what if Nathaniel Hackett, who, let's be honest, Sean Payton absolutely embarrassed or tried to embarrass him, and this team's going to be motivated going into this game on both sides of the ball to protect their guy. What if he's just in his bag and we're doing like double reverses and like a flea flicker or something crazy, like, I don't know, the Mike LaFleur Philly play to Zach Wilson in the end zone in Pittsburgh, something like that.
I just really feel like this could be where the offense clicks on all cylinders. Like we saw it kind of against the Chiefs. It was like the middle of the game. The offense struggled early on, and then the second half kind of stalled a little bit, just comparison to the middle part. We need a consistent 4 quarters of play. Yeah. And my biggest frustration with that Chiefs game, Matt, was that Zach Wilson did not have a chance to clean up that fumble. Like, that was my biggest frustration. Like, if you go watch Zach Wilson's highlights, it ends abruptly, and he was cooking, and he made a bad mistake, and then he never got the ball back.
Yeah.
I was really curious to see, how does he handle that mistake? Does he go and score or not?
It's crazy because of how poorly he played beyond that, but with how, prior to that game I'm talking, but in that game he was playing so well that in the moment while watching, it's like, get the ball back. If they stop the interception and the third and long plays, like, just get the ball back, and I think they're going to go down and at minimum tie up.
You heard Zach say himself, like, "Oh no, we were going to score. Like, we were going to score a touchdown if we got the ball back." And like, when has Zach ever said that with that much confidence?
And the scary, I would have believed him. Like, that's a crazy thing.
There was a time where, like, usually my phobia, and I'm sure every Jets fan, and Matt, you as well, can relate to this. Every time a quarterback throughout my entire life drops back to pass, my stomach drops, thinking it's going to be a pick, just because I've just been programmed to watch bad quarterback play. It's just like, but like in that game, I was like, every time he dropped back, I'm like, this better be a dart. And it was. I was like, what the heck's going on? There's dimes after dimes.
I know the exact feeling you have because I had it with Mark. I had it with Gino. I had it with Darnold. I had it with
Darnold.
I had it with Wilson. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it was kind of released. I was like the opposite. Every time Zach dropped back, I'm like, as he's releasing, I'm like, it's going to someone. Like, what's going on? My brain is rewired to being confident in my quarterback. And can you imagine we get to a level where we all, as a Jets fan base, come together with confidence of Zach dropping back to pass? Like, I want to have that confidence. It needs to have like at least 5 games in a row for me to have that internal confidence before that. But I don't know. I had that.
You got to start stacking these. That drive out of the half where they went down and tied it was the best football he's ever played in the NFL.
That was the best Jets offensive drive in how many years?
Long time. Really long time.
And it was like first down, back shoulder seamed Tyler Conklin for 25 yards. The very next play action, beautiful pass to Lazard, first down. I mean, you're already in Chiefs territory on 2 plays. And then the next play was a handoff for 3 yards. Okay, 2nd and 7. All right, next play, we're throwing up to Jeremy Ruckert for that first down.
Back shoulder.
And then another handoff didn't work. Okay, 2nd down, let's do a quick pass to Garrett Wilson. All right, 3rd and 8, touchdown to Alan Lazard. That was just aggressiveness. That was, more of that.
Yes, please.
More of that. We got a super chat from Gizmo Maltese. Thank you so much, Gizmo, for the $10 super chat. You get a round of applause and a JETS. Thank you, man. I don't buy that we struggle to run because of Zach. We struggle to run because of awful run blocking. We had the same problem last year, even with Mike White. Offensive line did much better last week. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you can say that there was reasons to blame the run game on the struggles of Zach with the stacking of boxes, but there's also the other side of the equation where it doesn't matter. The offensive line's got to block better, and they got to open up holes. And you're right, Gizmo. They struggled early on, and on Sunday against the Chiefs, they definitely played better. So what's your thoughts of Gizmo's take here, Matt?
Yeah, and last year, by the time Mike White was in there, they were on like their 6th tackle at that point, right? Like the offensive line was so broken, and I really put a lot of the lack of a run game with Mike White on the line because, like he showed, he was able to rip it. They had games where they were, his yards per game numbers were up there and they were throwing the ball a lot, but they couldn't get anything going on the ground. And, a lot of there was no AVT. Dwayne Brown was banged up. He was playing with his injured shoulder at that point. Didn't Mike Remmers start a game last year? Oh,
God.
Like, this is what I mean. Like, they were, how far down the pecking order were they on these tackles?
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line was so banged up, mixed with Brees Hall banged up, and there's a lot of things that resulted in the run game to disappear last year, which resulted in the Jets to lose 6 straight games, in my opinion. But you bring up a good point, Gizmo, and I think that it's up to this offensive line to build off of last week and really start being a dominant running offensive line, and that starts with Joe Tippmann and AVT and Mackay and Lee Blocks and the running backs to find the holes, which Brees Hall's shown that he's able to do that. So, Gizmo, great take, and can't thank you enough for the $10. We got a caller that's waiting on. We got Caden in the house. What's up, Caden?
What's up, Berkey? Long time no see.
I know, man. How you been?
Pretty good. Busy. Working with my dad, so I haven't really had the time to call in. How you doing, Matt? You might remember me. I've called into Just Jets before. I always say Caden from upstate New York.
Absolutely.
Okay. Didn't know if you might remember me. I want to give my thoughts though on like last week's game. I missed the first half of it. I was at my youth group meeting, but it was hard tracking the game on my phone and seeing that in the first quarter you're down 17-0. And it's like, rip. Another one of these games again. Yep. And then somehow like Zach Wilson becomes like the next coming of like Patrick Mahomes basically, and like starts lighting it up. It's like, and it's hard because of the fact that I'm downstairs trying to want to be able to cheer. At the same time though, my sister's sleeping upstairs and mom and dad are like, shh, quiet. She needs to get her sleep so she can go into work tomorrow. And it's like, no, I want to yell because Zach Wilson is doing freaking good. It's very hard when you have that dynamic in the household. Those throws to like the tight end. Oh my gosh. It's like, have we ever seen that from Zach? I mean, the Titans game in his first year was just fun. Just like those throws, but like this was honestly his probably best game ever. He was just slicing and dicing. It was incredible, honestly. And like the only bad play that he had was the fumble. But it's like there's other things that the team could have done that could have won the game instead of that. Like if the defense would have just played better earlier. But anyway, so just my thoughts, and this is my main fear is I just need to see Zach string these games together. I just don't have the confidence in him yet to do that. If he can do it against Denver, okay then. But we've also seen games with Zach where he's done good before, and then next week it's like he like shits the bed basically. That's just my only fear is can he string it together? Because we've seen with Zach how confidence is such a big problem of his. And something I was posting on like just some Jets YouTube pages overall about this is I wouldn't be surprised if him like saying after the game that it was his fault that they lost. I wouldn't be surprised if that somehow gets into his head and then that goes against him and starts to like, what do I want to say? It almost does him worse by thinking that, and then he's not as confident, and then he can like lose the game. What are your thoughts?
Interesting. Caden, interesting thoughts there. We appreciate the call. I don't think him blaming himself for the loss is going to trickle in a negative way. I think that kind of is more of a positive growth, just in terms of like he knows he needs to be better and like avoid those crucial, critical mistakes. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I think since we saw Thomas Morstead, Randall Cobb, and Alan Lazard like talking him up and like having his back with it, and I think even I'd have to go back and look, but I think Brees and Garrett were pretty supportive of the game that Wilson had, and CJ Mosley too is another one who's a leader on this team. If the reaction was something, more similar to the game against the Patriots last year, like that was the polar opposite. I think the reason why he got benched last year was a big part of it was because the reason of he played so poorly in that game in New England. But after the game, he was asked, do you think you let the defense down? He goes, no, just flat out no. And like, how do you think that the defense felt, hearing that after such a crappy performance? And now like he plays well, has that one mistake, and he's taking the responsibility. The defense is like, no, man, like you're good. We're gonna come back and get this thing. So I think it's gonna give him confidence, actually.
Yeah, me too. And like, I think that Zach Wilson's ability to hold himself accountable is such a sign of growth. I mean, the biggest reason for his miserable failure in year 2 was not only his ability to not play the quarterback right, but it was that game against the Patriots where he's like, no, I didn't let the defense down. What do you mean? Just completely oblivious. And, I really relate this to life in general. I mean, like, times like that is the time for Zach to grow. And without Zach having that terrible press conference, I don't think he's where he's at today, where he wouldn't have had that wake-up call. Like, even his dad texted him, like, what did you just say? Like, are you kidding me? Like, his own father, like, went right up to Zach and was like, that is not what you do.
As he should, by the way. That was one of the more embarrassing post-game press conferences I've ever seen. I was livid after that.
Oh, my God.
That I think that's when, like, the coaching staff is like, well, we have to make a change now because the locker room's going to go up in flames if we don't.
And I also want to get your thoughts of this, Matt. I thought of this heading into this, and I didn't think of it, didn't pop back into my head until now. And then we're going to get into the next caller and then wrap things up. But I know there's a long way to go with Zach Wilson, but hypothetically speaking, if Zach Wilson goes out there on Sunday, plays well, if against the Eagles he puts up a good game, should we start giving Robert Saleh a little more credit? Because remember last week, everyone was absolutely criticizing that man for backing up Zach Wilson, and everyone was like, this guy is just backing Zach, and everyone hates him. Like, I feel like and it's a big if, because we haven't seen it yet, but if Zach Wilson starts figuring it out, like Robert Saleh went out there in the limb and was backing his guy when nobody else was backing him. Does Saleh deserve any credit for that?
I think he deserves more credit just in general, but for that, yeah, I would think so, for having his guys back. But I do think, unfortunately, especially with the Zach Wilson stuff, and he is the face. He has to go up and talk to the media every single day. Joe Douglas talks to the media twice a year? Like he very rarely speaks. So I think since fans see him and Saleh's the one who has to answer those tough questions, I think fans are a little bit harder on him. So yeah, I'm totally with it. I think he does get more credit. I think he deserves it.
Yeah, because that wasn't easy for him to say. I mean, everyone was like against Zach, and he was the only one saying, no, he's our quarterback. Like, there's no question. Everyone was like, what? Saleh's a moron. And then I'm like, what the hell do you want him to say? Like, there's no other quarterback on the team that he can just turn to. You're not going to go to, you're not going to go to, what's his name? Tim Boyle. Sorry, slipped my mind. And we just signed Trevor Siemian. So, like, I don't know. I thought that was a little blown up out of proportion. He has to back his quarterback. He has no other choice. But, hey, it's up to Zach to kind of prove himself. Let's get to the next caller. We got Johnny, who's known as Senior Pfizer.
Mm-hmm. What's going on, guys? Long Island in the house, I see.
Long Island in the house. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. Matt, just to let you know, man, I had a conversation with Craig already, and I hashed things out. I let him know that Zach Wilson is not as good as Patrick Mahomes, unbiased to what he was saying in regards of his takes on how much film he watches.
There you go. Did you see I went on Talking Jets this week? I told him that I went back, I watched the film against New England, which he said was really good. And then I watched the film against the Kansas City Chiefs, which obviously we know that was a great game. And I've now come to the conclusion that Zach Wilson's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So Craig has won. Yes.
Craig's won the battle between.
Yeah, Craig has won. I say I throw my hands up. There's nothing else I could do. Zach Wilson first ballot.
I don't know
Hall
if you
of Famer.
saw the last episode of the Jets Media podcast on Monday, Matt, but Craig was going at it with Jack. and it was a back and forth battle.
Oh,
and I
no, I
I
didn't.
kept thinking of you. I'm like, Jack, I don't know if you know, but like Craig went after Matt, and it was
Yeah.
Jack didn't see that, and I was
Okay.
like, dude, this is hilarious. Craig would not stop. It was Craig versus Jack for like at least a half hour.
I love
and
it.
it was hilarious. And Jack, even after that Chiefs game, is not sold on Zach still. So it was just a really funny thing.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, I hope that with this game coming up, so my take on everything going on, everybody thinks I'm nuts, man, but the DJ Reed kind of, it sucks. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say that, but I really think that I think they're gonna either move TA on over to play corner, or they move Ashton Davis because he played some corner when he was in Cal as well. And to me, Ashton Davis has been our Swiss Army knife, right? That's how he was used over there in Cal as well. But I think our safeties are going to be the biggest X factors going into this game, as well as the line. But I think we're going to give Denver a shutout. I think we shut them out. I think it'll be 24-0,
Wow.
right?
Without
Just
DJ Reed still.
just because I feel like our offense is just gonna, the time of possession is gonna be on our end this time, and I think we're holding the ball for like 7-9 minutes, right, and just going ahead and just destroying them in that way. I think Brees Hall scores 2, right, and I think Cook is gonna score 1 in here, and I think Conklin ends up scoring 1 from Zach, right, as well. So that's my take on that. And of course, we got Greg the Leg scoring 3 points and everything. But I truly don't think that Denver's going to score at all. I mean, I think this defense, I think the turning page was last week, and I think we're going to start seeing everything running on full cylinders, and we're going to go ahead and just show the NFL that we're not playing around anymore. And I really think that we beat the Eagles, man. Just I'm not sold. I'm not sold on the Eagles. I mean, you saw the Commanders last night, right? And the Commanders almost beat the Eagles off of one play and some kind of weird calls in that game. So I mean, I think our season is not done. On contrary to what everybody is saying, like, oh, it's done. And the whole narrative too about fire Salah, it needs to stop. The dude, the culture is different. I mean, you guys have been Jet fans for a very long time, right? Have not had something that literally anytime you turn on the television and watch any type of sports outlet or anything, the Jets are talked about it. And it's a feel good for us as Jet fans. Bring all the Jets content that we can to have here as well. I mean, what's your guys' take on all that, what I'm just talking about?
Appreciate the call, man. Yeah. First and foremost, the Ashton Davis and Tony Adams playing outside corner. What are your thoughts of that?
Yeah, I think of the two, I think Tony Adams can do it because he's done it a little bit more recently. And Ashton Davis, I got to give him some credit, man. I've been hard on Ashton Davis. I've always thought he's a really, really good athlete, but the football IQ kind of holds him back a little bit because he got into football so much later in life. But, with running track at Cal, like he's just so athletic that he's made up for it. But he comes up with some pretty big picks in some big spots. So I do think they utilize both those guys and have them on the field. Like we talked about earlier, and having three safety looks. And I think we do see a lot of those guys.
I mean, the thought of Tony Adams playing outside corner and locking it down would be like the coolest thing ever.
Awesome, yeah.
But I don't know. Saleh said they have a plan. He didn't tell us what the plan is, so maybe they're gonna get creative and figure things out. Because without DJ Reed and Brennan Eccles, they are definitely thin at the cornerback spot. And the fact that he's predicting a shutout, sign me up.
Epic.
I mean, bro, like if there ever was a game for the entire team to click, it's this game. It's this game. Like, come on, like. I don't want to just make this about Zach Wilson. It's about the entire organization. It's about the roster. It's about the coaches. This is the game where everything needs to click because we were excited about Aaron coming here, Matt, because of the roster around Aaron, right? So I think it's a good time to see Quinnen Williams get free and make a strip sack and Sauce Gardner get maybe a pick six and Brees Hall getting free. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, let's see the team around Zach Wilson raised to the level that we expected him.
Yeah, and especially too because of everything that Sean Payton did in the offseason. Like, and now is the time to be extra motivated and go out there and make it embarrassing. I'll take any win. Like if they win 20-19, I'll take that obviously. But I want this one to get ugly because, Denver.
Run it up.
Yeah, they ran their mouth a little bit and make them pay.
Run up the score, baby. Let's freaking go. Guys, Matt O'Leary is joining the show. If you guys are enjoying, please do not forget to hit that like button. We're going to get to the last caller here and then wrap things up. I greatly appreciate Matt taking time out of his day to come over to the Jets Media Studio to have this in-person collab. Always a pleasure. And if you guys want to see more in-person collabs like this, guys, don't forget to subscribe to Matt's channel and my channel, guys. We're doing a lot of great things here with the Jets community. We greatly appreciate all the support, guys. Without all of you in the chat, none of this is possible. So appreciate you guys. Let's get into the final caller. Speaking of positivity, Matt, this is Mr. Positive, Josh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's up, Josh?
What's up, Richie? What's going on, Matt? Hey, Matt, I just subscribed to your channel thanks to my boy Richie.
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. So I just think with our Jets, man, Zach Wilson, be specific. I just feel like he needs to be consistent with his gameplay following the Chiefs game. And I already know we're gonna beat the Broncos. We're gonna beat the shit out of them. Actually, I just feel like we're gonna beat the shit out of them. So, man, and I just pray and hope that, man, we can just keep this same energy going. Like it's been the energy with the Jets. I know the last games, like with the Cowboys and the Patriots, left a bad taste in our mouth, but hopefully this Chiefs game and so forth can just boost up our energy, can make us like just start winning games, man. I feel like it's all about energy with the fans and the teammates and the organization and the staff and the coaches, with everybody. I just feel like it's all about energy. And as long as our energy is positive and consistency and confident, then we're gonna win games. Special teams, offense, defense, it's all in our hands now, man. Like we got this, man. The season is not over yet, man. Go Jets, man. And then it's very hard for me to do these highlights, man. When we lose, man, it's definitely difficult, man. So when we win, I love making these highlights. Chiefs versus Jets top plays dropping tomorrow. Tune in, man.
Everybody go check him out. NYJ Madden. He replicates what happened in real life in Madden. It's really a unique idea. And make sure you guys go check out Josh's channel, NYJ Madden, and on Instagram as well. Josh, can't thank you enough for the call, my man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all, Richie. And Matt, stay tuned. Jet up. Let's go.
Love it.
Hey.
What a call.
Isn't he the man?
Yeah, great way to end it.
Like every single time he comes on, even after a tough loss, it's like, gives me a breath of fresh air.
We could use some positivity on this. I like going out on a positive note also.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is always there, and like he's been every single Monday call-in show, whether it's a Victory Monday or it's an L, he's there calling in and trying to find the light in the darkness, which I've tried to do as well on this channel. So Josh, can't thank you enough for tuning in and subscribing to Matt. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to Matt O'Leary, his link is down below in the description. Please make sure you do so. But I'm assuming everybody already has. If you're not, what the heck are you doing? So that is definitely a great way to finish up the show with Josh's positivity. Matt, any last words before we wrap things up?
30-10 Jets.
30-10. I freaking love it. Who's scoring those touchdowns?
We'll get Garrett 1, Alan Lazard 1, and we'll go Brees Hall 2.
So that's 2 touchdown passes for Zach.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns. Well, no, hang on. I gotta get my math going. So maybe it's 31-10. Then I'll say 31-10. 4 touchdowns, a field goal. There we go.
So it's 1 to Garrett, 1 to Lazard, 1 to Brees. Who's the fourth?
2 to Brees.
2 to Brees.
Yeah, 2 Brees.
Both on the ground.
Both on the ground.
Wow.
One long one, 160 plus.
160 plus. Right back where he left off in Denver.
There we go.
And Zach's stats?
Zach is going for 270 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns.
Any turnovers?
And no turnovers, no fumbles, no picks.
Well, 31-10 Jets. I will take that any day of the week, guys. If you enjoyed the show, guys, please do your boy a favor. Simply hit that like button and subscribe to Matt O'Leary and myself's channel. We're expected to do these types of collabs more often, and I'm excited for it. So, guys, we appreciate it. Also, make sure you guys check out Talking Jets. They go live every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. It's Green Bean. It's Jets Talk 24/7. They do a great job. So make sure you guys go check out Matt and his channels. Really, really would appreciate that. So we're going to wrap things up, and we'll catch you guys next time. And as always, let's freaking go Jets. Let's go. Peace out, everybody.